Hi, it's Chrissy from firstdayofhome.com. Today we're going to be making a Valentine's burlap wreath. And if you haven't made one of these burlap wreaths before, it is so much fun. I think you'll become as addicted as I am. So it's a really fun project. It's super simple, won't take you a lot of time. And it's extra special today because I am joining another talented group of ladies for a collaboration on YouTube. I'm going to leave the playlist in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. And if it's your first time visiting First Day of Home, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and then ring the bell to get notified every time I post on YouTube, which is usually every Friday. So let's go ahead and talk about what you'll need to get started. For this project, you'll want to pick up a wire wreath frame, and I'm using a 24-inch. You can also go smaller or larger. And then you'll want to pick up a very wide burlap ribbon. This is 5.5 inches wide, and I bought it on sale at Hobby Lobby. I have a few different ribbons that I also picked up at 50% off at Hobby Lobby, and I'm not sure which I'll use yet, but I'm going to make the wreath first and then decide afterwards. You'll also want some floral wire or pipe cleaner, just something to bind the ribbon to the wreath frame, and of course some scissors and wire cutters. To begin, you'll want to cut off a short piece of floral wire and then get your ribbon ready to put on your wreath by folding it in half and then in half again. And we're going to be attaching the ribbon to the innermost circle of the ring, and I'm going to take that floral wire that I just cut and put it through all 4 layers of the ribbon here, kind of like a staple. So I'm going to stick both ends through and then just attach it to the wreath frame by twisting and turning over and under that innermost ring. So you'll see what it looks like in just a moment. You might find that you have to pull the wire through again just to secure it, but there's really no perfect way to do this. It's whatever works best for you to make sure that it's not going to become unraveled around your wreath. I like to wrap mine through a few times, almost like I'm sewing it onto the inner circle. And once you get started, you'll find that it goes really quickly after this, especially as you get your technique down and get used to working with these wire wreath frames. I know it's a little tricky in the beginning trying to figure out which direction to go, and as you'll see, it gets easier and easier as you make your way around the circle, and I think it's just really almost kind of therapeutic to make these wreaths because it's just so fun to see how it transforms. Once you're done attaching the ribbon to the wreath frame, you want to go ahead and cut any little pieces of wire that might be sticking out because you don't want them to start to poke into your ribbon and then cause it to fray. I'm going to start by moving the ribbon as close to the right of this bar as possible, and then pulling through the ribbon through this first innermost little section here. And you want to just pull it through till you're satisfied with how much fabric you have out. I like to use my fingers and decide maybe 3 or 4 fingers wide to have in each section. You want each section as you pull this ribbon through, and now I'm pulling it through the middle section, you want it to be roughly equal so that it looks pretty uniform. But the fun thing about this wreath is that it almost looks like roses as you go around, and so it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it looks a little more artistic if the bundles of ribbon are a little bit varied. So once you have all 3 pulled through, all 3 little sections, you're going to bunch it up with your hand, and then we're going to twist. I'll show you what this looks like on the back side. You're going to twist twice the ribbon. This ribbon is the same on either side, so I'm not really worried about which side of the ribbon I'm using, but I'm twisting twice. This is the back side of my wreath. Then I'm just going to flip it back over so you can see it gets a little tangled here when I'm trying to demonstrate. But now that you've twisted twice, that's going to keep your ribbon in place, and then I'm going to pull it through again, this next little section, and continue in the same pattern. So I want to continue going through inner ring, then middle ring, then outer ring in each section. That's never going to change, because if you start choosing to go in a different order, then it may run the risk of coming undone and it just won't look as pretty. So make sure you're always going inner to outer ring, and then it will look really good. So I'm just going to continue pulling my ribbon through, and you can start to see pretty quickly how this is taking shape and starts to look almost like roses around this wreath. If you start to feel like some of the loops are uneven, you can always rearrange as you go, but I like to do that toward the end before I'm going to tie off the end of the ribbon. So just know that you'll have a chance to rearrange and adjust at the end. I ended up doing 2 bundles of ribbon for each section, so once you reach one of those vertical bars, you just continue going on as if it's not there. So I'm going to twist again, and then just continue pulling the ribbon through that bottommost portion of the next section. You'll see here how my ribbon is just a little bit twisted, so just work with it, and as you do more, you'll start to realize how you should feed it through. So I'm just going to flip the ribbon here a little bit so that I can make sure I'm going to feed it through the next section in the right direction. And you can see it's easiest if your ribbon is kind of outside the wreath frame, just to pull it through so it kind of flows nicely. And you'll see, even as I'm doing this video, once you get back into the technique again, it starts to go really quickly, but it does take a little bit of time, so I just want you to be aware. And it's okay if it's a little bit twisted in different directions, because that actually makes it look a little more artistic. Again, we're just going to bunch this up as I put the second set of loops in this section, and we'll just continue around the wreath form until we're done. I found that I needed 4 of these burlap ribbon rolls for this wreath, but it's going to depend on how many yards you have and also the size of your wreath form, of course. Each of my ribbon rolls had about 15 feet on it, so I would say I used just under 60 feet of ribbon for this particular size wreath. And I had a little bit of burlap left over as well. And by the way, I'm going to put this whole tutorial on my blog, and I will include a link below as soon as that is posted. So you'll be able to print out all of the instructions and then again bookmark the page for this video and for the tutorial online. Look how pretty this is turning out. I'm really loving this style, especially for Valentine's Day. I think it looks so romantic with all of the ruffles. When you reach the end of one of your ribbon rolls, you'll just do the same thing that you did when you started. You'll fold it in half and then in half again, and put your floral wire through and attach it to whichever rung of your wreath works best. So you can see here, I'm just going to twist my wire onto the wreath form, just like we did when we got started. So it's pretty simple. I think once you finish a couple of sections, you'll have the hang of it, and I'm just going to continue around till I have my whole frame covered. Here's one last view of that twisting action. So I actually find it easiest to twist your roll itself 2 times, and then it's really easy to just pull that first inner loop through and continue on. So if you're looking for a tried and true method, I find that doing it this way and then using your thumb to pull the ribbon loops through really works out nicely. So you can try that and experiment with it and come up with your own technique. So that's part of the fun of making these burlap wreaths. When you reach the end of your wreath, you'll want to just flip it over and then cut your ribbon off wherever you are. So you can see I still had a little bit of ribbon left over that I can use for another project. So I'm going to save that and then just cut my ribbon, leaving enough that I can do that double fold again, and again attach it with floral wire onto the frame. Then we're going to be ready to make our ribbon and add a few other fun touches to this burlap wreath. As I mentioned before, you can take the opportunity when you're done to just go around your wreath and adjust as necessary. Again, I think it's fun that it's not perfect and it's got ruffles in every direction. So if you see any of the wreath form showing, that's the main thing you want to cover up. Then we're going to add a little loop at the top. I'm just using this piece of jute cord. You can also use pipe cleaner or any other string that you have. And I'm going to put it through and make a little knot here. So I chose one of those vertical bars, and again, I'll show you real quickly what I did is I put it around the bar and under the outermost ring and then tied my knot at the top. Then you just pull it through and you can hang it on a door or window. Now I started off thinking I was going to use this ribbon for my wreath, but it didn't add enough drama for me. So I found this other black and white, really wide ribbon that I wanted to use instead. I think it's really romantic and it's gonna look great on this burlap wreath. So I'm going to start by making a loop with my ribbon, and we're actually going to make 2 loops. So I want to make sure before I begin that I have some wire handy to cinch the middle of the ribbon. So I'm going to cut off a little piece of wire there and then make 2 loops with this ribbon, and I'll show you what that looks like. Sometimes it helps if you have one of those ribbon stands that has 2 prongs, but I'm just going to do this with my hands and make 2 loops. We'll adjust it later, but mainly I want to make sure I get the width of the ribbon right for my wreath form. I measured it and it's about 11 inches wide from end to end, so that gives you a sense of just how big this ribbon is going to be on the wreath. And you need a big ribbon or accent if your wreath is very big. It just is going to look really dwarfed if you put a ribbon on that's too small. That's kind of what happened with the other ribbon that I showed you. So once you're ready to cinch your bow, you're going to flip it over and cut the other edge of the ribbon. So your 2 edges of ribbon are toward the back. As you can see here, this is the front of my bow, and here's the back, and I have them overlapping at an angle. So now you can start to see how this bow is going to take shape, and I'm going to grab my floral wire and put it down the middle of this bow. Now you can also sew it. A lot of tutorials talk about doing a loose stitch to cinch the bow together, but I'm just going to use floral wire to make it quick and easy. And I'm going to pinch my edges together and then just wrap this floral wire around my bow, and you can always adjust it once the floral wire is attached. By the way, this technique is great for making little bows for girls, and I think it looks just so pretty and has so many different uses. I thought it would look really sweet and romantic for Valentine's Day, and since this is a Valentine's Day wreath, I thought it would be perfect for it. Now I'm going to take another short section of the same ribbon and make a little piece to wrap around the center of the bow. So I'm just going to roughly measure it and cut off a piece. And then, as you'll see in a second, we're going to actually fold this piece over so it's not so thick. We don't want it to cover up too much of our bow, so I'm going to fold it in thirds, and that way we have a nice little thin strip we can attach to the center of our bow. Before I hot glue that center piece on my bow, I want to make a few tails, so I'm just going to take another piece of ribbon and fold it in half to measure how long I want my tails to be. And then we're going to tuck this little piece inside that center part of the bow, and that way it will be contained and the tails can hang down and it'll look so pretty. So I'm going to just cinch the middle of this tail piece and then grab my bow and insert this piece right in the center there. And then I'll hot glue the center part of the bow together and it will look like one nice bow with ribbon tails. To finish off the tails of the bow, I'm just going to cut the edge of each of the tails at an angle, and it really makes for a nice finished look. I decided to make a little garland for my wreath using these cute little heart clips that I found at the Target dollar spot last year, and then I used my Silhouette Cameo machine to make these letters like a pennant banner, and it really only took me 5 minutes. I used scrapbook paper that I had on hand already that you can find at either Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and it was so quick. I'm going to put all of these files for the Cameo or Cricut cutting machine, as well as a JPEG file for a print and cut option on my website, and I'll link to that as soon as I have it posted below, so check back for that. And the great thing about this setup is I don't have to glue or anything. I'm just going to clip this onto my garland and then I'm ready to go. And by the way, I just love this ombre cardstock that I found. It's got different shades of white and pink, and that kind of different shade look, the ombre look is so trendy right now, so I was really pleased with how this came out. Now that we have the banner all clipped and ready to go, it's time to hang it on our wreath and see how it looks, and then I'll take it outside and do more adjusting. I'm going to start with my bow and attach that first. I know where my hook is at the top, so I'm just going to attach the bow using that floral wire that we inserted, and then I'll hang my little garland on top. And I did have to do quite a bit of adjusting once I took it outside, but I wanted to have at least a starting point, so I just took that jute string that it came on and attached it, and then took it outside and worked with it until I got to this final result. You guys, I just love the way this turned out. It's so romantic and whimsical, and I think it looks great on a front door. The other thing you can do is add a wooden insert or other decorations to embellish the wreath for other holidays. You can also swap out the bow and play with that a little bit. The other thing to consider is you can make this a patriotic wreath for the 4th of July. You can change it out for Christmas as well. So there are really so many ways to customize this and make it your own. Thanks for watching. I hope you had fun making your own burlap wreath, and leave me a comment and let me know how you plan to customize yours. Also, I appreciate you giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And don't forget, I have a lot more Valentine's inspiration for you with my friends in the playlist below in the description box. In the meantime, I'm going to leave a few more videos that I hope you might enjoy, and I'll see you next time.